And it's hard to believe it, but we've made it to this point 4 days in to the Valorant First Strike Close Qualifiers presented by Nerd Street Gamers. We've made it to the playoffs, and a few teams have been eliminated that we honestly didn't expect to see sent home so early. And we'll be talking about those teams in just a bit. My name is Bach. I'll be your host throughout the day. I've got two casters that'll be joining me in just a bit, but we'll keep them on the sidelines for the time being so we can march you through the storylines that we've seen play out thus far as we've watched our teams enter and exit in all groups, and we now are left with just a few fighting for their chances to qualify for Riot's upcoming event. And you can see these are the teams we had and the groups that we have left. Sentinels, T1, Cloud9, Renegades, TSM, 100 Thieves, Complexity, and Envy. We are in the quarterfinals here. Semifinals, obviously, TBD. On the mainstream, we'll be seeing that Sentinels and T1 game kick things off. Then we'll be moving over to TSM versus 100 Thieves. And then on the B stream, they've got Cloud9 versus Renegades before jumping over to Complexity versus Envy. And they'll be continuing on that side of the bracket as well for their semifinal winner with winner of C9 Renegades versus winner of Complexity Envy. And we will be covering winner of Sentinels T1 versus the winner of TSM 100 Thieves. It's going to be a good day. These are going to be some great matches. And as you can see, here's the rules and regulations. Top 4 advance from this First Strike event into the First Strike NA Regional Final. Now, the other 4, basically everyone who loses right now, they'll be moving in to UMG's event. So this is not necessarily a knockout, but it is. They're eliminated from this event, but they get a second opportunity with UMG's event in just a few weeks. So it's an odd thing because it's a single elimination bracket, but in a certain aspect, it's almost like a double elimination, but they just don't get to continue on in bracket play. They'll have to start over in their run in that UMG event. But enough about me, enough about the teams. We've got 2 casters standing in the wings, waiting and ready to bring you guys the action. We've got Shift and Avril who will be joining us for this first quarterfinal. And guys, I'm incredibly excited to see what these teams are going to bring to the table. Shift, we've been seeing just how well some of them have been playing, but Sentinels hasn't been playing as well as we maybe expected them to, but they're still at this point.
It's kind of hard to look at Sentinels and throw too much negativity their way because they have still been winning, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe not in the prettiest ways that we would have expected. 2 overtime wins so far in their group stage play, one versus Dignitas and the other versus Envy just last night. But it's still one of those things that this Sentinels team is still extremely consistent. Sure, are there some kinks that need to be worked out with what is essentially a new Valorant from the last time we saw these guys play back during Pop Flash? Yeah, absolutely. But the fact of the matter is this is still an incredible squad.
I like the Sentinels as well, and to be fair with you, they have probably posted up closer games this tournament than people would have expected, especially when you look back towards the Ignition era. Sentinels were much more dominant. I don't know, I like to think of this as other teams definitely having caught up a little bit. I'm not too sure what's going on with Sentinels right now. I don't look at this as being a crisis or a concern for Sentinels either, because like Shiv said, they are technically still winning. Yes, they did drop their match versus Gen G in the open qualifier, but since then, I think Sentinels have mostly shown up. I think Sentinels have mostly been a very good team, the team that people expected, just closer games than normal.
And to be fair, even just looking at the way they played in that open qualifier against Gen G, they played a Sage on split, which is a little bit odd. So it felt like maybe a little bit of like, hey, let's see what we can make happen, even with the Sag being what it is currently. I mean, Sage obviously not nearly as powerful as she once was, but maybe they were looking to find some potential viability there. And then on the flip side, T1, I think, is a little bit of a surprise. Not because I think that T1 is a bad team, but Avril, T1, just making recent roster shifts and not really getting too much to see from them, they've actually been able to surprise us a bit by making it out of the group stage.
And that's the thing, they're quite a topsy-turvy team, right? The T1 so far have been a bit of a roller coaster ride. They've had their ups, they've had their downs. There's been frustrating moments looking at T1. They've been quite slow on the offenses. There's been plenty of criticism being thrown their way, but they did also beat Gen G, and in some cases, people may consider that to be a bit of an upset. They also did lose to Complexity. I don't know if you call that one an upset either. I think Complexity are probably one of the most slept-on teams in this entire tournament, in the entire region, so maybe Gen G losing to Complexity is exemplifying that as well. The fact that Complexity come through first place in Group B. So T1 end up eliminating Gen G. and that is probably so far T1's best performance, at least in recent times, with their new roster, with Skadoodle rejoining the team, with Spider in the mix as well. And I think this version of T1 now, if they can bring that performance back into bear today, that'll give T1 a good shot.
I think with T1 as well, there is some, learning pains and growing pains that are going to happen with this squad because you've got Dazed, who is a recent addition that is taking up a lot of the mantle of being trusted to make a lot of the play calls. And there have been other times where I think just on individuals, you're looking at Skadoodle and Spider. Spider, obviously, when he was playing in the Overwatch League, got his name big by playing on things like Widowmaker. A lot of people expected him to be playing a duelist with an operator, and that necessarily hasn't been the case every single time. But the role that he fills on the Omen has actually been pretty electric and has led to a lot of great moments for T1. So it's really just for me down to, can that coordination be functioning at the highest level immediately going up against a team like Sentinels, who aren't going to have those same growing pains that T1 is still kind of working their way through.
Yeah, you mentioned the complexity #1 seed, and if you actually look at this bracket and you look who exited as the #1 seeds, I think we'd be surprised with a few of them, just because it wasn't what we necessarily anticipated. Cloud9 Blue coming out of the open qualifier as the #1 seed, that was surprising enough, but they also make it out as the #1 seed in their groups. I think that Cloud9 is a team that I think people do sleep on just a little bit, consistently referring to them as Tens and Friends still, but complexity has really surprised us, even though we're not necessarily talking about those teams. It's what's put this match into this position. It's that play from some of those teams that's resulted in the matchups that we see here. So yeah. Sentinels and T1, two teams that have been praised heavily since the early days, and at times both had their peak. Like T1 at one point was considered the best team, but that was very, very early on, because basically there was no one else. They were one of the first teams to get into Valorant and start signing players, but then it seems like everyone else kind of caught up and then passed them, heavily so. I think the most impressive thing with T1 is the rise of Skadoodle Shift. I feel like Skadoodle coming back is a different beast, and he plays so much better than he used to play before he was kind of put on hiatus on the team.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it was like kind of like stream team, meme team. Like, how seriously were they going to take it once you started to see other top teams starting to come through? But we do have a look as far as what our maps are also going to provide here for us. And this is also very interesting because we're going to get Bind for the first map picked by T1, a map that they have not necessarily been incredible at so far throughout the closed qualifier. And even in the First Strike series, they're only 4 and 3 total on the map.
And interestingly enough, Sentinels ban Ascent again. That's another point I think I'm going to bring up here because it's just such a weird thing. Sentinels twice in a row now. They banned it versus Dignitas, they banned it versus T1. And I used to consider Sentinels as being a very, very proficient Ascent team, so it's quite interesting to me that they don't want to play it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to find out what's going to happen here. As you mentioned, the Ascent ban, a little bit surprising, but we're going to be moving into Bind to kick things off. And, I'm excited to see what's going to happen here because I think T1 and Sentinels will give us a very exciting match, a potential for a 3-map series. But it is time to kick things off here with Bind, the first map, and we'll see who's going to be walking away with that 1-0 lead. Boys, take it away.
Thank you, Baka. The first thing to keep note of here is the fact that Sentinels are one of the only squads to still hold on to the Brimstone in any composition on any map. And you're going to see Zoms pulling that one out with also Sick, of course, not just going to be on the Raze, but you got the double duelist set up with Sinatra going to be playing on the Phoenix. A definitely interesting and unique look for Sentinels and as well just for, Bind and whole here, Avril.
It's a really old school look as well. Consider that Shazam is also on the Sova here. Shazam has been mostly playing the Jet lately. You also have Sinatra, who is typically the Sova player on the team, now on a Phoenix. So this is Sentinels bringing out something a little bit older school in terms of meta-wise, especially exemplified by the fact that Brimstone's in the mix. We talked about Sick playing the Sage as well on Split. That will come up a little bit later on if we do get to map 3, which is going to be Split. So Sentinels are the kind of team right now that do want to still be playing some of these picks that are not really prevalent in current meta.
Interesting look here as well for T1 on their offense, not really stacking anywhere. And this might actually be first point of contact out towards Long B as Sentinels were trying to see what exactly was happening. So with that, T1 do find first blood, opens up an opportunity for them to execute over towards B. They also get a read on Sinatra, who's playing over towards the defensive side at spawn. Boombot will make sure that this defensive rehit is delayed at least a touch. And while Dapper was trying to play for a flank over to the teleporter, it's going to be Dazed who finds the second kill, and T1 with the spike down are looking at a 5v3.
And T1 have a massive advantage here. I'm not just talking about the player numbers, but they have full control over Hookah as well. Long as theirs. Dapper, that 1v1 versus Daze, super important. If Dapper wins that, Sentinels have a very good chance of the retake, especially in a 4v4. Here we go, that with Sentinels with a 3 available, trying to double up from the elbow position. Low HP for Sinatra. Will go down, and this should be a cleanup from here on out. Just one player available. Sick. He's got a lot of HP, but running out of time.
We'll find 1 kill and a second, so gonna make this a little bit more punishing, but the chances of him actually getting the defuse are none. And with that, AZK will also find the final kill, but it will not be flawless for T1. Not the best case scenario, but obviously not the worst either, as they will get away with the pistol, and with that, they will have enough money to purchase into whatever they just so choose when it comes to SMG upgrades specifically. We'll also get AZK also onto a Bulldog here early.
Well, within acceptable margins, I mean, you don't really expect any team to necessarily have to go flawless there. So T1 walk away with 3. Credit Sick for getting the couple of kills that he did manage to get. The only 2 kills that Sentinels have had so far on that pistol. Now walking into the anti-eco. T1 already had a fairly decisive in terms of their decision-making skills on that previous pistol. They got 1 kill over towards long, then instantly went for the hit over towards B. So it's good to see that T1 are making nice, snappy decisions when the time calls for it.
And one of the things that we've seen out of teams that will, at least up until now, have continued to try to play the Brimstone is that they try to get these ultimate orbs as much as humanly possible. Get that orbital strike online as soon as you possibly can. And you're going to see Daze continue to try to challenge this to make sure it does not go over freely. The Boombot will come through, will be deleted. And this little vying for positioning over here will continue just to result in not too much. Daze will also scout things out with an Aldrin, but you'll only see 1 player. These shock darts should find a lot of value, and they will be able to find first blood as Zombs falls. Also information onto the other Daze for 2 opening kills, and T1 extremely pleased with this, as this entire opening setup was just about looking for information, looking for picks, and they come away with both of those.
Daze is now 6 out of 7 for his ultimate charge as well, so T1, after a great start, 40 seconds remaining. I mean, this is where T1 will need to start deciding where they want to go. They have 2 kills already. This round should be theirs. It's about where they want to make the hit happen, how they can minimize losses. They do only have the 1 pistol on Daze, but everyone else has an upgrade in terms of either an SMG or a Bulldog, and it does seem like the stack over towards B for a B split will be the answer.
Shazam has to find 2 kills here. You've got no smokes to retake a site defensively if you're Sentinels. You have to trust the player that's in B right now to come away with a kill or 2. And as a lot of spam is going through the start cover, Shazam isn't feeling the favor to start moving forward. And while he tries to hold his life, Sinatra was trying to peek through the backside of the defensive spawn, and he will be taken down. So now it's just down to Dapper and Shazam B5. And well, as Shazam finds absolutely nothing, Dapper will sit here and say, okay, I don't even know if I could even realistically go for this.
Yeah, the answer's going to be no. He's going to have to try something just because, I mean, you're not going to be saving a pistol here, and you might as well try and take a kill when you can. Dapper with just a shorty. Not going to do too much, and there's the force you were asking for a little bit earlier. Daze, by the way, getting the 3rd kill is going to enable that Hunter's Fury for a very pivotal round 3 now, where Sentinels will be able to buy up. And I am having some slight concerns over the composition. You'll notice that for this defense, they're not going to have a great time at just stopping early pressure through. Typically, you want to have the Omen Paranoia. That's really good for stopping a team just blowing through the doors onto site. That being said, though, T1 are not the fastest team either, so they're not the type of team that are going to be rushing onto a site.
Right.
They'll probably give Sentinels a bit more response time. Maybe then you can pull out the Molotov coming through from Zoms on the Brimstone.
You say they're not the fastest team. I think a lot of people would argue that they're one of the slowest teams on their offenses. Very diligent. Nice. It's just a playstyle thing, you know? I mean, it's just down to tempo and pace. And if you're Sentinels, do you try to force yourself to take away more of the map? And we've already seen a lot of battle happening over towards the A showers. That hasn't turned up in their favor. You also saw them try to play through B long. That also wasn't favorable for them in the opening round. So you can definitely tell that Sentinels want to play at a little bit of a faster speed than T1 are allowing them to. And with that, it's allowed an advantage for T1 early. So this 3rd round is going to be, I think, pretty revealing to what both teams want to do as far as speed and pacing are concerned.
And some T1 don't get an opening anywhere, so you don't have Sentinels going for early aggression over towards showers, no early control. The trade-off there is that Sentinels have very limited information, so there's a smoke over towards showers. They currently don't have too much info over towards B. I believe they already expended the Aldrin. Didn't see anyone over towards B long, but then again, T1 don't necessarily commit to a site until we're getting quite low on the timer here. This looks like another one of those situations where T1's not going to be planting until maybe under 20 seconds.
Well, the Molotov doesn't quite catch the angle that I think Zoms wanted to, and now the Hunter's Fury is going to come through, plus this paint shells out of Skadoodle, and Dazed finds 2. He's able to lock down 1 inside of Lamps. I think he got a tag on the player that was over towards the link on the rotation, and again, Sentinels caught without being able to put any kind of defensive resistance in play whatsoever, and T1 are looking at another flawless round.
And honestly, Zom's missing that Molotov is actually a pretty big deal because that allows T1 to get onto site a little bit quicker, get that plant into action. Spider will pick up a gun upgrade here as well. You see Days coming through with the Hunter's Fury. That's that third round timing on the ultimate I'm talking about. Very important in terms of macro to try and find any advantage on that third round as a team that has won 2, that is on the rather bonus round. You've got the less superior weapons there. You've only got the SMGs. You need to find advantages somewhere, and the Hunter's Fury is going to give you just that. A 5v2. The rest of Sentinels don't want to go for this one. Dapper again, one of the last 2 members alive. They will be able to at least save over 2 guns, and note that we are on patch 1.10, so the full loss bonus is still into effect even after saving.
It's been a perfect start for T1. Avril, we had a chance to cast over T1 playing Luminosity on this map last week during the open qualifiers, and T1 were really struggling to get things going offensively specifically. That has not been the case so far. I mean, yeah, you win the pistol, so the second is close to follow, but that was an absolutely flawless take off the third. Again, you have to give massive credit to Days for finding 2 kills off the Hunter's Fury to try to open up the site. But still, the fact of the matter is this is looking like a renewed and awakened T1 squad here early as Sentinels, they're having a hard time even finding kills, let alone chances at rounds.
Yep, and now they have to rely on the 2 hero rifles they have in play. Still a bit too far away from ultimates at this rate. Shazam 5 out of 7, Sick 5 out of 7 as well. That being said, though, T1 pretty fresh out of ultimates themselves. AZK's 3 away from the Rolling Thunder. And once more, the very typical T1 kind of calm style here as they look for any sort of early picks or early pressure. Sentinels, again, are just not going to be playing for any early pressure. They're not going down B long early. They're not playing for showers early. That's where T1 like to find their kills, just allowing space to be taken away. That will also, though, allow T1 to be able to just walk up slowly and get a lot of control for themselves.
Again, these executes, they like to come right around the 40-second mark. And as the spy cam will find some information that Sinatra's playing over towards B. You also have the Al drone currently for T1 scouting things out over towards A lamps. Not going to find a terrible amount of information in T1. They are committing to spike it. They're starting to wrap back over to A. They're going to trust that Brax can provide enough distraction to say, hey, we're going to go B. And this is the correct prediction for T1 as far as the execute is concerned. There are only 2 members on the A site defensively for Sentinels, and they're both stacked over towards lamps. AZK looking to open things up, maybe with the fault line. 20 seconds left. Here comes the execute, and Sentinels will not be here immediately. Paint shells to come through in combination with the paranoia. Brax for first blood. That's actually over towards the B site. But you got to get this spike on. There's only 10 seconds left. And as long as Sick can stay alive, maybe a little bit longer, maybe there's an opportunity to delay it. But no, Spider will successfully plant, and T1 are in a 4v2.
Never change, T1, never change. As we wait until the 30-second mark and the rest of the T1 say, you know what, let's all go towards A. Ends up being like a plant with 5 seconds remaining. The butt that I was going to throw in their shift was to say that, okay, they're about to get on site. Sure, there's only 2 Sentinel members alive up there, but when are they going to plant here? They're going to run out of time. If there's any sort of pressure that denies the plant, T1 just lose right then and there. They will enable the 4v1 now. Spider does remain alive, does get the spike down. Dapper's going to go down a Spider as well, and T1 collected 4 and 0. But I got to tell you, man, any sort of well-placed utility stops the plant, and T1 are just kicking themselves again. And that would be the most classic T1 moment to ever happen in this game, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that it's all off the backhand of everything being used at once for T1. Paranoia, paint shells, recon bolts, shock darts, everything is being thrown when they execute. The thing that was not expected that time around for Sentinels was the fact that Brax was going to be able to delay for long enough at B, but beyond that, he actually finds 2 eliminations over the top of the site from B long. And if you're Sentinels, you cannot allow that to happen. Here we go. This is an aggressive play through showers and the teleporter, but Dazed is actually very well aware of this. He gets tagged down to 52 HP, but he will survive. And with this teleporter coming through, T1, they might just execute very quickly here, knowing they've got a numbers advantage over at B.
I think half of that was also Sinatra maybe being called out over towards teleporters, can't quite get away. And this is part of the other issue for Sentinels, but they're about to let another plant come through. Potentially there is finally going to be a trade. Sentinels have been really failing to stop these pushes in, despite how slow they've been. Sentinels just don't get the kills on site when it matters. This time they get the 1. Sentinels will have even numbers for the retake.
Shazam with an operator is going to be pretty hard-pressed to find a way into this spike site. You also have to keep your eye on Sinatra, who's going to try to play through Hookah. Skadoodle needs to stay alive. You cannot fall here if you're Skadoodle. Your whole responsibility is to make sure nobody pushes through these doors. But now as Sinatra finds a kill for the back, Shazam also with an operator. 4v2 situation. Time's going to become a problem here if they can't find a way to clear out Brax early. Blaze Wall goes down, spam shots coming through, and Brax he snaps for a third kill! Now it's just down to Shazam on the spike, the Neurocept's gonna come through, Daze able to find the kill, and T1, they'll hold the post plan and go up 5-0 as there's not enough time for Zombs to do anything at all besides back away and save.
Yep, another save coming through for Sentinels, and I want you to pay attention to the scoreboard when we come back to the next round as well, because prior to this round, in the first 4 rounds for Sentinels, they only had 3 kills, 2 on Sick, and 2 of those kills, by the way, for Sick came in that opening round, the pistol. So the other 3 rounds that were in play after the pistol, only 1 kill on Dapper, and that's it. Now, we got a few more in there. It's Dapper on 2, Sick still on 2, Sinatra and Shazam on 1 each, but again, before this round, they only had 3 kills among all of them over 4 rounds. So again, the point stands that Sentinels have been really struggling to try and make trades happen as T1 hit the site. When the execute comes through, Sentinels, whoever's on that site, they fall over. And that's been a bit of a problem. They have been saving, which means they will have guns again. But they've also had to save quite a few rounds in a row. Here comes Hunter Spirit to maybe click Brax.
And Brax will sidestep it, will stay alive, and actually not take any damage either. So as far as Sentinels are concerned, you lose some defensive pressure of the Hunter's Fury. You do have a showstopper to use, and that's going to be with Sick sitting up top towards Heaven. There are members for T1 that are lingering over towards A, but again, the execution we don't expect for another 30 seconds or so.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or not here for T1. They do have Rolling Thunder available. And Spider is technically one of the members that likes to be on the other side of the map, and he will have a teleport available in terms of the ult. But speaking of other side of the map, you see that Sinatra and Dapper are now going to be pushing up. This is actually great from Sentinels because for many rounds in a row now, they've not done anything aggressive in terms of information gathering or otherwise. So we'll take the opportunity to go for it now. And as the 30-second mark arrives, here we go for the hit.
And Spider's actually going to try to push up to see if anyone's in Heaven. He'll get the information on Sick up top, who is still not committed for the showstopper yet. 30 seconds to play. Spike making its way on for Spider. Showstopper now coming through. But is there an opportunity for Sick to even get here? He actually misses the blast pack where it's destroyed in front of him. One of the two. Oh my goodness, Sick. What in the world was that? He throws the showstopper at the wall in front of him, and now all of a sudden Sentinels in a 3v5. They're a little bit trapped up on top of the site. They have to make a play, and there's no plays available. All of their utility to try to get back on the site were denied because Sick just completely whiffs up top at Heaven. This will be a 6th round for T1.
The Sentinels know it's a double. It's not a double elimination tournament. It's single elimination. They realize that, yeah, because the way they're playing right now, I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's not just that T1 have shown improvement over the course of the tournament. We saw that versus Gen G when they actually qualified for the top 8. And we also mentioned that, hey, yeah, Sentinels have, you know, quote-unquote struggled versus some of the teams that they played, but they've at least won. There have been close games. This has been, so far, a 6-round blowout, and Sentinels are doing really weird stuff. Their composition's weird, the plays are weird. Like, you see Sinatra Dapper walk down, and they don't commit to the full flank. At least one of them should commit, I think. Sinatra's going to go for something aggressive now again, because, I mean, they're on a half buy anyway, but yeah, I can't believe what Sick did there. He put the blast pack down, his own blast pack, knocks him away, and then he throws the rocket launcher into the wall. I've never seen that. I've never seen it at this level being done.
I just wonder how much of this, you know, again, we talked about Sentinels. This was one of their best maps during the Ignition Series era, but a lot of that was on the backhand that Sick was one of the better, if not the best Sage in North American Valorant on this map specifically. They found so much continual value out of Sick on the Sage. Now you don't have that anymore. The one time that they've played the map so far was versus Envy, and they barely got past Envy 17-15 in the overtime. So, I don't know. It just feels a bit strange. Curveball on the ground. This is a nice hit for Sinatra. He will find 1 kill on the Skadoodle. Now the run it back's going to come through. He won't be able to get through the cyber cage with it, but at least you've got numbers, and T1 will likely have to commit to a Rolling Thunder if they want to try to open things up towards A, as Sentinels are 4-man stacked aggressively over towards the A site.
This recon's going to reveal a lot here as well. Zoms, this is going to be really unfortunate. Will be caught potentially by the aftershock. The flash comes through as well. AZK gets to clean up there. That's another member down. Spike will finally be picked up. It's 20 seconds though. This is T1 at T1's worst. Unfortunately, they got to get in there very quickly.
Do they take the teleporter here? You've got, yeah, they do. I was about to say, you've got the Cypher over towards B. You might be able to get there just in the nick of time, but Shazam is trying to watch from the back. 7 seconds. They will get this spike planted just in the nick of time, but the hookah trail will come through behind this. So 2v2 we go. Sentinels in a little bit of a more advantageous spot health-wise, as Spider's down to a single bullet. And this is going to be a double hit pretty well telegraphed from Hookah. The Blaze Wall's in a great spot to split things up, but Brax still finds a kill onto Sinatra. So now it's just down to Sick, and Brax will be good for that one as well. The last second rotation, again, credit Brax for opening up space and saying, hey boys, B is clear, because if they were to have to gut check call, execute with 20 seconds left to A, that spike doesn't get planted.
This match is going to be shaving years off my lifespan, I think. To be fair, look, you're not wrong that B was clear and they could go for a TP play technically, but look at the time. They had the difference between winning and losing a round ends up being about a second and a half. If you're T1, even though technically B was clear, and you only have a 1.5 second window to make sure the plant comes down, acknowledge that if anything goes wrong, if one piece of util hits that slows down the plant, you just lose. That's it. You're done. So T1, again, too fine of a margin here. They need to be giving themselves at least a little bit more time. Make that 1.5 seconds at least 2 seconds for me, please.
Saying a razor-thin margin might be generous at this point, but hey, if it keeps working, I can't sit here and criticize it. As again, they do a little bit of juggling with the spike. They continue to trust that Spider is going to play. I mean, hey, it's working so far through this tournament, so as much as it might be kind of a elongated kind of resident sleeper play, it's not as explosive as a lot of teams like to play. It's catching a lot of teams off guard and it's working, so you can't complain with it.
I definitely can, and trust me, later on, like it'll work until it doesn't, and then when it doesn't, I'll be smiling. I don't know, like I'm not trying to be too negative or aggressive about that, but right now, T1 need to consider their options. They do have a kill nice and early on. That's the Sphero being gone. Skadoodle in. Rolling Thunder, sorry, not Rolling Thunder, Orbital Strike coming into play. A rocket launcher won't be fired this time around. This is Sentinels with an actual opportunity. They are trying to hold on. They have a trade and 3 members going for the retake.
It's actually a massive pick for Spider. They can once again take the teleporter through late. They read all the defensive members have come back over to A. The orbital strike is no longer there. So this should be a plant, but it's going to be contested on the post plant. As there's nobody here. Daze is still lurking for kills over towards B, and as Sick finds the kill into Spider after the plant gets through, that'll be an easy defuse, no problem.
T1. That's going to be the round gone. I don't hate the fact that Spider went for it, but at the same time as well, Sentinels did read that one correctly. They went and rotated over towards A. T1 left a couple more members over towards B to try and stop the rotators. They only got one of those kills, I believe. Daze too far away. Daze needed to get to A ASAP, but again, time just running out there. Free defuse. No one else on the post plant for A, and Sentinels will finally pick up round number 1, so Sentinels get to breathe a minor sigh of relief here as they finally do get that round. This was going very poor for them otherwise. 7-0 up until this point. They are also, by the way, starting to get quite a few more kills. They spent most of this game, 6 rounds in a row, by the way, where they only had 6 kills total among their entire team.
Well, now a bit of a broken buy situation for Sentinels. They can afford an operator, but everybody else behind this will essentially force up to try to bring some extra consideration. Sick will also play very aggressively this time. And I'm not going to sit here and say that they're right here. This is one of the things that you're, again, seeing that Sentinels, they want to play a little bit more aggressively. Defensively, they want to take away the map. They haven't had the chance as of yet. Shazam, unfortunately, caught moving. May have had an opportunity for the first kill. Second shot comes through, but blinded. Not going to be able to connect it. And again, T1 are still throwing out these flashpoints just to see if they can isolate maybe a pick onto Shazam, but it's not going to come through at all.
Sick will be now escorted out to safety via the L drone. Spotted that T1 had roughly backed out. Rax, the lurker over towards B is down, and now they can start rotating over towards A. 40 seconds remaining. T1 have been spotted out via the Neural Theft, and now this is where things get interesting because they have to make a call. Do they stay or do they go? And TY might actually wait until the final second here to make that decision happen. Spike will go towards Shell, so they will be committing towards A. Rolling Thunder might want to be committed here as well because they haven't cleared side. The fact they haven't entered site yet, we're hitting the 20-second mark.
Double stack once again over towards Lamps. AZK setting up for a Rolling Thunder. Spider's actually going to get caught by this, and he was the furthest one forward. So as Zoms is able to find 2 kills, yes, the Boombot will find value, but again, the time is becoming an issue. No one has the spike right now. It's over towards A, Showers, and as Sick finds Spider, who was trying to track back to it, there won't be enough time this time for T1 to plant. Maybe a bit of confusion as far as how they wanted to execute off of the Rolling Thunder as Spider was caught in the middle of it, and Sinatra will finish the final kill, and Sentinels all of a sudden 2 in a row.
Shift, I want you to talk to me about how it works again, because I noticed this time around they had no time and the spike was dropped over towards Showers, and they didn't have time to pick it up again. So I hate to feel vindicated, but no, there it is. I'm half joking, but at the same time,
I don't. It's one of those things that, again, you're playing like literally on the edge with the timing of everything going through. If, like you keep mentioning, it is one of those things that if something comes through and stalls you for an extra second or two,
yeah,
sure,
absolutely,
that might stop you. But the fact of the matter is T1 has made this a diligent strategy for their offenses over the last week and a half now, and it's been working out for them. So I think we have to sit here and definitely give them credit for finding a way to still execute correctly. But there are a couple of moments that very well could turn against that. So we'll see if Sentinels can adjust and find a way to maybe punish this set strategy from T1 as far as how late they want to execute.
Absolutely. I think that's the greater conversation to be having is what is Sentinels doing about it, because, you know, can say as much as I want about T1 at this stage of the game, but it does come down to Sentinels, comes down to Shazam as well, sees the shoulder, sees the body, sees Spider, dead on the ground there, as the opening kill does come through. 2 ultimates available for Sentinels as well. And now T1, the long game comes through. Notice, by the way, that Sick is scouted all the way through Showers, going towards Market. Now has a great timing, potentially onto T1 as they wrap back over towards Short. Sick might be up for a multi-frag. There's number 1, there's number 2. Spike's on the floor, and it's a 5v2 as well.
And he knows he's isolated 2 players this direction. As Zombs takes down Daze, it'll just be up to Skadoodle, and I don't really know if there's a play available for him here, considering the Spike is out in a little bit too much of a vulnerable position for his
30
liking.
seconds left.
He'll give a go at it. And if he can find the kill into Sinatra, maybe there's a chance, but not going to happen as Sinatra finds the pick, and Sentinels will find themselves now 3 rounds in a row. It is late in the half, but if you can find a way to bring this back and end this 5-7, you're going to be feeling pretty okay, I think, if you're Sentinels.
And I think they're on the path to 5-7 as well, which is the crazy thing. And you typically don't say that for a team that's 0-7 down. You know, after 7 rounds, there's only 5 left. How much faith do you have for a team to get 5 in a row? It would be a bit of an ask, but if there's one team that might be able to do something like that, it does come to Sentinels. And now Sentinels have plenty of money to work with 3 rounds in a row. Operator still in the hands of Shazam. They're the main operator player. 4 ultimates is a big deal also. So there's a lot here that can really delay, and for a team like T1 that are already slow, the delay tools are going to be really nasty to deal with. And finally, Zombs is going to get scot-free away from Showers, despite the recon bolt coming in.
Zombs does have his second orbital strike to potentially, once again, maybe hold off a push. He used it aggressively as the execute to B was happening a couple of rounds previous, and it did at least provide enough distraction to make sure that Skadoodle couldn't find tons of value with his showstopper, but we'll take the look to see if that will be the case as we take a look at our minimap pulled up. It's going to be another rotation for T1 as they realize that there are just too many numbers over towards A. Let's go see what's happening over to B before we make our commitment.
And Shazam's going to be the most important player here. Might still have a little bit of util left. I'm not too sure the Aldrin's been expended, but at this point in time, Sentinels know something is up. They've now rotated Sinatra over towards B as well. Dapper might be there to follow. You've Daze on the side of T1 over towards A to maybe just buy a little bit more time for the rotation again. Less than 40 seconds. That's where T1 need to strike. A lot of ultimates still in play, and Spider going to go for the TP.
He's just checking to see if there's any information on top of the
left.
site itself. Sinatra with the run it back is looking to be the first line of defense. Nothing through Hookah as of yet. As you see Skadoodle backing away. 22 seconds on the execute. Recon bolt also coming through. Now the Hunter's Fury is going to come out. This could find value defensively for Sentinels. It's again holding things back as Skadoodle's able to find a trade into Sinatra. Now down to 12 seconds. Dapper, is he good for 2? Not
10
quite.
seconds
Skadoodle
left.
now on the way back in. Oh, what a shot that is for Shazam! He's also able to stop the plant, and as the orbital strike comes through, Sentinels will take 4 rounds in a row.
And there it is. That's the ultimates being put into place as well. T1, 1 alive there, just Brax. And it's not going to be enough. 10 seconds left
Last
to plant. The
round
planter
for the
goes
half.
down. AZK can't do it. And Sentinels, they arrive on time. They do the necessary scouting. They have the right call as well, the right read on the game to say T1 are not doing anything else at A. We saw a little bit of early pressure. Seems like they've fallen off here. Let's put a couple members over towards B, and the defense is solid. So, looking towards the latter part of this first half now, they've certainly picked up a large number of kills compared to what we saw in the first 6 or so rounds. And now I think the 5 should be on the board here. Sentinels finishing 5-7 after that 0-7 start would be phenomenal.
Only the showstopper available for Sentinels this time defensively, and as Daze just spams through the dark cover, he essentially runs and guns down Zoms, and with that, now he's got the opportunity to pick up an ultimate orb, and the neural theft will be committed very early. T1, are you looking to maybe execute a bit sooner than you would think normally? Now it's going to be a Hunter's Fury with Skadoodle also moving on forward with the Showstopper. Can't quite get on top of the truck by the A site, but is still trying to push to find an elimination, but no, it's Dapper to find a kill, and as Sick is able to get better use this time out of the Showstopper, the Boombot will also get into the mix. Sick for a third, give him the fourth. Sentinels, they take the round 5-7 through the half.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Sick and Skadoodle, they're trading places a little bit, and now literally trading places we swap sides, but what was going on for Skadoodle there? I mean, we had a funny moment in the Luminosity game where he did kill himself using the paint shells. Take a look at the instant replay provided by Go Puff here as we get through the opening rounds and head towards the later rounds as well, looking at Sentinels collecting the 5 in the latter part of the first half there. Skadoodle not managing to land the shot with the Showstopper. Sick making great plays over to the side of the map as well. You saw that nice little rush through coming through the back of Showers. Here's that important round as well where Shazam just puts the foot on the door there to make sure, well, put his foot down in any case to make sure there was no plant coming on through. And Sentinels are going to be able to rescue that first half as T1 now look towards the opportunity to continue the lead if they can take the pistol again.
But if Sentinels can find a way to take this pistol, we might just have ourselves an even game. So as we take a look, it's going to be Brax, who is responsible playing very far forward over towards Hookah with the spy cam right across the way from him. Not going to see any information with it. And Shazam, as he continues to push through mid-map, it looks like he might be the next one up to potentially lock things and he's already used his Aldrons, but I didn't see it come out. So they maybe use the Aldron to clear through Hookah. They would find a lot of information, but no, Sentinels are just going to make their go call all the way through B-Long. Brax is going to stay safe, and oh my goodness, what a shot that is from Days for the first blood. That'll keep the defense a bit more sturdy here for T1. Brax on the flank. He's going to get scouted out by the recon bolt, so now his position will be known. And with this, the spike will be planted behind. So now as the double commit comes through for T1 defensively through Hookah, they're trying to force their way in, but the Molotov will stop them for now. Still a 5v4, but Sentinels killing off time for the potential defuse. They're going to have an exit over towards B-Long. Numbers are still starting to surround for T1, but you're going to have to go sooner rather than later, and with 3 members for T1 still stacked in Hookah, it's going to have to be a go call off of what Skadoodle wants to do. Here comes the play. He's going to be able to find information on a player over towards Long, but the players over an elbow are actually doing a better job here for Sentinels. 3v3. Now time becoming a major consideration. Dazed will toggle onto the spike just to see if there's anybody still around. And as they do find a couple of kills, it just will not be enough. Sentinels, they kill off enough time, and they will also hold strong in the post plant. They find themselves the pistol.
And that's a really good heads-up call, by the way, coming through from Sentinels. As Zoms does actually go down, that's a little bit sad. But for Sentinels, you'll notice that they don't have control over any of the Hookah. They just had B-Long in the Octagon, and that's it. So they have to make a play. They have to make the decision to say, we're going to take some control somewhere. They send 2 members over towards Elbow, and that ends up allowing them to get a free kill over towards the defender's spawn. They get Zoms wrapping back in as well for 3 kills overall in that particular round. And they take space where they need it, because otherwise they would have been locked out of B, and that would have been a very difficult post plant to play in.
As far as statistics are concerned, Sentinels' offense was their better half versus Envy when they played through overtime. Just marginally, of course, but definitely still their stronger half. And even during the Ignition Series era, they averaged 53% win rate on their attacks. And if they can find a way to get this second round, that 50% would likely be just about enough. This comes down to if T1 can start to try to find a way to hold sturdy. And one of the question marks that I think a lot of people have had was, if their executes are so slow on offense, will they have that same patience when it comes to their retakes defensively? And when we saw them play against Luminosity, that was the case. And that was one of the downfalls to what they were able to put together defensively. Now Brax, you'll see a player coming out of Hookah, wants to try to find the fight over towards this player B-Long, but Dapper gets the kill. Vault line coming through, we're able to find one more elimination in trade, so 4v4 we go. But the execute's still on the way, and keep your eye. You've actually got Spider who's on the flank, but he gets dealt with. Beautiful pickup for Sentinels, and this will be a spike plan and likely a 7th round.
I think you called it right there as well. You mentioned, okay, is this going to be T1 slow in the retake? It absolutely wasn't this time around. They had a very fast rotate. 3 members from A going over to B as fast as they can. Spider going for the TP play. The other 2 members wrapping around the defender's spawn. The issue here, though, was just not enough equipment. I mean, Spider's not going to be able to win the 1v1 with only a classic in hand. Now that they have the guns in play for the 3rd round of the half, this is where things get interesting. Notice, by the way, it's 7-7 now, so both teams have won 7 rounds in a row, respectively. Even though Sentinels, technically theirs will be spread over 2 different halves here. And great camera vision coming through from Brax as well, that spotted the fact that Zombs was getting smoked ready over towards Hookah, and that is always cause for concern, considering that's most likely where the hit's going to come through. So T1 Roll responded to, didn't have the equipment, they do now. They should have a much better round.
Once again, Sentinels throwing a lot of early pressure over towards Hookah. Brax will scout out the Phoenix, but I don't know if he fully sees that. Zombs is also here, and as Sick actually pushes through, there was an opportunity to find the trade onto Dazed, who got very aggressive through B long, and as Brax was again lingering over towards the front side of Hookah, he will also fall. Hot Hand's going to be used to get some self-sustain into play for Sinatra, and this will lead to a likely free spike plant here at B, as again, the defense, you got to make a decision if you even go for this. You've got currently Skadoodle all the way still over towards A, and it looks as though T1 were considering the conversation for a moment, but then will punch their ticket saying that a save is in order for them.
And to be honest with you, looking over towards what happened at B long, where I believe it was Days that went down there, he gets the one kill, but he's kind of playing a bit of a solo mission. Typically, you would see 2 players pushing down there. If you wanted to make an aggressive play down B, you might have started with 3 defaulters at B, 1 holding Hookah, 2 walking down B long. Sometimes teams even put 3 players down B long, but for a solo walk down, you have to be fairly confident that you're not just going to run into the entire enemy team, where at that point in time, the best you can do is a 1-for-1 trade. And versus a team that are on their bonus round where Sentinels are concerned, they're not going to have full equipment, so that's potentially a free gun given over. Sentinels would love to get an upgrade onto the rifle off the back of Days dying, so doesn't really bode well for the B players coming in. You also see that Dapper played reasonably aggressively over towards Hookah as well. I mean, they have guns here. They're not on the eco. They're not on the half-buy with SMGs or Judge or something. They don't need to be too far up by themselves in some cases. I know we're looking towards... So, Brax and Days. Brax having the situation, not Dapper, it's Brax I'm talking about here. Brax did get a nice camera angle to check for things earlier, but again, we have 2 players kind of by themselves, both dying, only 1 trade happening over towards B. And for Sentinels, that's a fairly simple round after the 2 kills came through.
Great start here for Sentinels. Again, this is T1's map pick. The second map coming up would be Haven, which, to be fair, both teams have some pretty extensive history on, but more so, I would say, for Sentinels than T1, who have only played it once so far in these close qualifiers.
Cover going out.
Dark cover going to come through, just trying to stall out any push through this A mid, which looked to be the case for Sentinels, but this was all without the spike, so maybe taking a page out of T1's book here as they're trying to play for information and see if they can wiggle this defense around, of which they have been able to pull Dazed over from B to A, at least for a small time. So 60 seconds left. This is going to be Sentinels trying to hit aggressively through Hookah, and the only player that's here is Brax, and he's going to be deleted instantly. That should be the go call.
Brax in the way of the paint shells, had to go for the 1v1 play there. Does a bit of damage.
Oh, no.
Over towards the side of second. Oh my goodness, Days down as well. It's the same 2 members. B is going to be a free plant, and T1 know it. They're backing out. They understand that this one's going the way of Sentinels. And Sentinels will pick up 9 off the back of this one, and that is going to end up also being 9 rounds in a row for Sentinels since they came back on the latter part of that first half.
Let's look at the spree between the last part of the first half and this first half. I mean, 8 in a row for them. It's just one of those things, and, you know, I'm sure there will be plenty of opportunity after this tournament has concluded to break down how T1 has approached really their total play style. I mean, everyone at this point in time pretty much knows that offensively they love to play a little bit slower. They love to try to execute right around the 30-second mark. As soon as they find as much information as possible, they hold their utility, they use that to execute. But once you get to the world of possibility that your opponent, whether it's Sentinels in this case or Luminosity in cases before that we at least had a chance to cast, once they get ultimates and they are able to afford weapons as well as all their utility, that becomes a little bit more hard-pressed to find as much efficiency as it does in the earlier rounds. The one thing we noticed a lot when this T1 squad played against Luminosity was they did not have a good start to that matchup versus LG on Bind specifically. And when they play from behind, that's when this pacing and this play style really struggles to get going. And we might be seeing instances of that here as there's already 4 rounds down for the second half here for T1 on the defense, and they're going to have to go into another round in which they're not even going to have full armor behind this rifle play.
Well, offensive pacing aside, what I can say for T1 on defense so far is, I mean, we've seen some vulnerability over towards B. That's definitely 2 rounds in a row right now where, and by the way, we are in a T1 tactical pause here. 2 rounds in a row where, for the side of T1, you see Dazed and Brax going down fairly early. And this time, Dazed, he was actually chilling on site. He wasn't pushing up aggressively on his own. Brax is still fairly aggressive both towards Hookah. I don't think he'll be doing that again, or at least not without support. You typically, again, I think with the 2 players on B, you want to be working together a little bit more to make those kind of plays happen. Or if you want to have a solo thing, I don't know, maybe you want to have 3 players default to B. So far, T1 have been defaulting 3A, 2B for most of these rounds, and the B side has been the vulnerability. I think that's where Sentinels can continue to target if they scout it appropriately, or T1 are going to have to just make sure they tighten up the screws over to that side of the map as the game is unpaused and we're on our way to the next round.
And with the Hunter's Fury available here for days, he has been incredible with it throughout the weekend. Looking for a way to hit that point home one more time here to get T1 their first defensive round on the board, potentially. Sentinels on the other side will be looking to see what exactly Sick can find with a showstopper. Good information there off the spy cam from Dapper. I believe he actually sees the player up top. It's Spider who's throwing shoulders, and good spam locations as well. Actually connects for most of Spider's armor, and as Daze is actually able to find first blood over towards Hookah. You were thinking that maybe that was going to be a full commitment over towards mid, shrugging Spider off the angle, but it's still another split hit for Sentinels, and now they have to work their way through a 4v5.
A lot of pressure coming through from A-Shore. That's going to force or potentially at least just pull Dazed over. He's thinking better about it. Is in between both sites now, so it could go either. Sentinels are going to lose one over towards Hookah, so, I mean, that's actually a really important member down. Consider the fact that Zoms is the only smoke character here for Sentinels, unless you count, I mean, Dapper's cages. Not really the same thing here. Sick is still going to try and buy some attention over, but Sentinels, at this stage in the game, are looking like they want to go A, and they got to do this without smokes, without the molly, without the brimstone.
And the thing is, I think this is the easier site to approach than B. Sick is going to try to throw some defensive consideration over towards the B sites by playing a solo showstopper over. While that starts to fade away, you're going to be getting Sentinels lurking up the mid, but Spider throws a shoulder and comes away with 2 headshots. Brax as well dealing with Sick means that this play for Sentinels has seen its last light. And Sinatra in a 1v5 might try to play for a spike plan as he's got plenty of cash to play with. And any kills are good kills here as T1 is still struggling for a bit of their economy, and that won't come through. Flawless round for T1. Big defensive hold for them.
I'll tell you what, Spider really saves T1 there because Sick over towards B, pulls at the showstopper, grabs a lot of attention, and actually pulls 2 T1 defenders off from A towards B. You start seeing a couple of guys run over. Spider's the only one still left there. So ACK and Skadoodle start running towards B. Spider swings around, like you said, shoulder peeks at one, finds 2 taps over towards A-Shore. If he doesn't get those kills, or he dies in that trade, and, you know, either responds 1 or 0, then suddenly T1 are on for a bit of a retake where they no longer have full control over A. So thankfully, Spider for T1 does get those kills, and that will shut Sentinels down.
Sinatra early to run it back, wants to play through Hookah, actually goes right by the boom bot, and as he tries to work his way out of sight, can't find any damage actually to the Skadoodle, who takes care of the initial portion of the Phoenix, and then also finds Dapper, but still Sentinels pushing aggressively over towards B. Now it's going to be the defensive Hunter's Fury coming through for days, just hunting for any kind of information possible, but the good news is AZK and Spider behind him are cleaning up the kills as all these Sentinels members continue to try to dodge away from the Hunter's Fury, and T1 again defensively will hold, and we're going to be tied up 9-9.
A lot of early kills coming through. T1 just do not allow Sentinels to even really leave Hookah or long. Phoenix running back from Sinatra, unsuccessful as well. He's, you know, in some cases, kind of self-flashing himself a little too much there as well. Just can't quite land those shots required. Jumps out of Hookah, instantly gets sent back to his original form. For the rest of Sentinels, just unable to get anything else done there either. And this is where now things are tied up once again, 9-9. Skadoodle with the operator. Skadoodle has typically in the past been a big carry for T1. A little bit quiet so far, at least definitely on the second half for sure. I mean, we did also see Skadoodle, by the way, kind of mess up the showstopper on round number 12. And now the operator, let's see if he can get anything done.
Hunter's Fury is going to come through early for the offense this time, and as Sinatra actually works his way through Hookah, they will isolate these kills over towards B long. Now Dapper will hit the neural theft, and T1 will have to consider what exactly do you want to do, because this is a familiar rotation, but not one they want to feel as familiar. But, okay, random shots through the smoke, going to be able to take down 1, so this turns to a 3v3. And if Brax can find a way to find a body, he might be able to throw this neural theft out to determine whether or not T1 realistically have a chance to get their way back into sight.
Cage triggered. Very different round to the last one that we just saw, but also Very similar one to past B takes that we've seen as well, with T1 just kind of failed to hold on here, don't really get enough trades. They will have the 2 kills to work with so far, but AZK Spider on site now. Spider nearly gets another kill to Dapper on 9 HP. Time is slowly starting to run up. They need to start getting the spike defused. It's a 2v1. Where is Shazam? They got to cover him. They must take the defuse. Shazam wins it. He's going to get both kills. The clutch comes in. Spike detonates. Shazam goes down as well, but the round goes over to Sentinels.
The Rolling Thunder was only used to try to get that pick over towards Hookah, and it doesn't come through fully successful. Really good opportunity for T1 to get a look at a defuse, but Sentinels will still hold strong. And now 10-9 the tally, and that was a big round for Sentinels. They lose that one, and the money's not going to be looking all that great. They're still not in a fully healthy position, but at least they can still force into some more rifles to keep this one tight.
Yes, this shot goes there.
My eyes go back to Skadoodle as well. Again, looking for more on the operator. He did get that 1 kill and ends up being fairly useful. Here comes the orbital strike early, forces AZK away, and this is going to be a very fast hit actually. As Daze gets a couple of kills in response, Hookah control has been obtained and Spike is dropped. That's going to put Sentinels really in a tough spot.
It's really a tough decision for Sentinels. They were looking to just take away these areas over towards Belong and Hookah simultaneously, with the orbital strike used to shrug some players back, and they don't fully get exactly what they wanted, but at least they keep things 3-3, and they clear up Hookah to get themselves the spike back. And even beyond that, a little bit of a cherry on top here as the shotgun will find a little bit of value, but okay. Not so much a cherry on top, and there's no ice cream sundae below it, as Shazam will be forced to clutch things up, and he's able to essentially 1v3. The kills were in quick fashion, but he walks away with the final 3, and Sentinels walk away with round 11.
2 rounds in a row here, Shift, where Sentinels find themselves in a bit of a tough spot. And Shazam is the one that gets them out of that one. Working his magic here for Sentinels in clutch situations. 3 kills on that previous round. Recovers the spike. Gets the kills required. Spider, by the way, really trying his hardest to pull things back the way of T1 for a double kill. 1 HP. Doesn't survive. Unlikely to survive it. A last 1v1 that goes the way of Sentinels to put themselves 2 ahead now as T1 go for, what is this, a 4 spy? They won't have a lot of money left after this one.
Run it back for Sinatra, earned off of this orb as well here, Avril. That could play into what Sentinels want to do to execute here, whether it's A or B really, but it's a big orb to be picking up here early for Sentinels.
We're trading util coming through from both of these race players onto B, and this time T1, by the way, are now starting to default more members towards B. As that's happening, Sinatra's already in, run it back being played, Sentinels are on A.
Not going to commit for a plant as of yet. Recon Bolt's going to come through. Brax will deny information by walking into the dark cover through A showers. This is a big position for Brax. Spider up top just needs to hold his life as T1 is fully here. And you're also looking at one player on the long flank. It's Dazed who's going to stop any exits from coming out. And Sentinels will finally commit to trying to get the spike planted. Paint Shell's trying to deny. Will find a bit of damage, but no kills. And still, you're waiting for Dazed. He might get here before the new year, but it'll be tight as he's on the way over through the backside, and Sentinels are not exiting. They're going to play through lamps. This is all a post-plant setup in the face of T1. So it's going to be down to, can you find the kills on the re-entry? So far, so good, as Skadoodle and Brax will combine for 3, sit down to 1 HP, and Zom's also not all that healthy, will mean that T1 will get a clean retake. And a bold call, though, for Sentinels to not even bother exiting. They just stick themselves in lamps, they stick themselves around A mid, and they don't find a single kill because of it.
T1 miraculously have all 5 alive here as well, as we Dazed for Dazed. Waiting a very long time for that one, as look at this situation where Dazed doesn't end up having any impact over that round. It ends up being basically a 4v5 retake. Skadoodle runs out of patience there, starts making plays happen over towards the lamp side of things, where you said Sentinels, they're all holding up in there, and they're just being funneled out as T1 collects the necessary kills and get the defuse in there as well for a 10 and 11 scoreline, forcing Sentinels now to be the ones going for an eco. And that was, by the way, as I repeat myself, a 4 spy for T1, so losing that one would have hurt T1 in a much better position to get this round back into order and a kill to start things out with.
Showstopper coming through aggressively. Paint Shell's trying to be placed, but Sick's able to deny most of the damage, but Dazed reads the play out of Hookah. Sick can't pull the trigger in time. Now the Hunter's Fury for Shazam. He's going to find connection onto 1. Can he confirm the kill? No, he cannot, but as Dapper tries to take advantage of the positions that were being very quickly alleviated for T1, he still falls. So a 4v2, Zoms for 1, Brax Did anybody hear him through teleporter? Seems to be so, as Shazam's going to watch from the corner here. So he'll be trapped inside the teleporter for now, but again, the health pools are pretty abbreviated on both sides. The only one who's really fully healthy at this point in time is Shazam, and he still only has light armor.
I think at this stage, Brax doesn't feel that trapped. He can come out whenever he wants to as well. It's really Shazam that's in a tough spot. Stinger in the hands. No gun upgrade available just yet. No, I lie, he finds a Vandal on the floor. It'll work out. Hopefully, 125 HP. The flash is too good, though. As AZK and the rest of T1 have spike control. Brax still posing a threat through hookah at any point in time. And T1 will dismantle the eco round of Sentinels. But this is the important one here. 11-11. Both teams will have guns again. A couple of ultimates coming online for the side of Sentinels. A couple of ultimates available already for T1. And T1 have the opportunity to really snowball their way to 12 and potentially 13. But one round going the way of Sentinels. Anything going the way of Sentinels here, and we could be seeing an overtime. We could also be seeing Sentinels kind of just steal away their own 13-11.
There's a conversation that'll need to happen about, is the value out of the Brimstone been enough to convincingly decide that it's finding more value than the Omen traditionally does for a lot of our squads? We'll hold that
Spoiler,
for another time.
it hasn't.
Going to be a Hunter's Fury coming through for T1 defensively. This is actually over through mid, and as actually that's going to open up some space as the hit was coming through for Sentinels. Brax will find first blood, and with that he also holds his position over towards Showers with Spider. So Sentinels are in a bit of a split hit right now. You've got two members that are on the site, kind of, but Dazed, who's up top, can make sure that these players over towards Showers stay safe. Spider's going to go ahead and put the Paranoia and the Dark cover through. Him and Brax will combine for a kill. Brax for number 3, nearly gets the fourth, but Sinatra's got nowhere to go, and the last player left alive will be Zoms for what would need to be a 1v3.
And has to get the spike as well. That's the hardest thing. Through Showers, and there's just not great util. You are one away from Orbital Strike. Look, this could be different, and this will be the one time where I'm thinking, if you are Brimstone instead of Omen, if you did actually have the Orbital Strike, and on a previous patch, by the way, he would have. It used to be 6, but now it's 7 required. We'll have to go the long way around. Look, there's an opportunity here where Zoms gets 1 kill, looks for an ult play, tries to recover Spike. He has to do it all in 20 seconds. And he's taking a little bit too long here, so it does look like Sentinels will opt to save this rifle. Again, Sentinels only just recovered from an economy round.
10 seconds
they don't want to
left.
be dropping too many guns here. They will still get full loss bonuses as were on the previous patch, and Sentinels will play for number 12 here. They'll play for the OT, and for T1, they'll be on map point.
Big advantage for T1 going into the next round. You've got the Showstopper obviously clearly available, but you also have the Neural Theft and the Rolling Thunder that will be ready to go.
Point.
The only thing that is really not going to be there was obviously the Hunter's Fury that was used this previous round. So we'll take a look to see what the Force Buy is going to look like here for Sentinels. How healthy will they be? The answer is not as healthy as you really want to be here. You will have 3 rifles, but one of them will be without armor, the other with just light. And beyond that, it's a Bulldog and a Stinger to come into the mix, and the only ultimate you have is the Neural Theft. You really need to find a way to get Zoms this Orbital Strike if you want to have a chance at this round, in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. So possibly all priority would be on the cards here, but Zoms is kind of in the wrong position for that. You kind of got to be following Sinatra, who's going in very deep right now. Caught by the trap wire, and that's him down. Brax in position for the kill. And Spider here to respond as well. That is a bad start for Sentinels. And by the way, that was one of their 3 rifles. They're only walking with 3 guns, and 1 is down.
And I love the call for Brax just to push through the hot hands to confirm the kill, although Sick has actually made his way onto site, finds the trade back pick. Spider can actually confirm the trade, so 4v4 we go. Rolling Thunder still available. You got to keep your eye on AZK, who's sitting backside site. The Molotov will clean up Spider, so now a 4v2. Skadoodle's down. AZK is going to have to find a way to clutch this up with Dave. Rolling Thunder going to come through, but the Neural Theft in response will mean that really not a lot of ground was taken away. This is looking great for Sentinels all of a sudden. It's a spike to be planted.
And Shazam will dodge all the util as well. Doesn't get hit by a shock ball, doesn't get hit by the aftershock. Rolling Thunder does very little in that situation, as well as Daze will swing by for 1 kill. AZT on his lonesome for another. It's a 1v2. Half HP over for Sick as well. Possibility of a kill. The fault line will hit, but that's all. 1 flash available. The cam is going to be good. Tagged as well. The swing could come through at any moment. And this could be it. I think Sentinels will take this one to OT. Indeed they do. And a 12 for 12 confirmed.
Big round for Sentinels considering the circumstances.
Overtime.
You get first blooded onto Sinatra early, and you feel like T1, there's no way you drop this round, but It just seemed like everyone from T1 defensively was so focused on what was going through showers, they forgot to watch over the middle of the map towards A, which is where Sick just walks on into sight and is able to find one pick and get a lot of damage confirmed onto another. And from there, it's just T1 was struggling to get themselves back onto site into a position where the Rolling Thunder was going to find any value whatsoever. So overtime we go. And it looks like, at least for this round, neither team has really been finding a lot of pressure or a lot of value out of the operator. So we're not going to see anybody taking that risky play here and try to go for that $5,000 purchase.
And that's the thing, because there's no jet in play. I think typically you want to have a jet. You're going to get a dash for free. You get a cloud smoke for free, I believe, as well. And for the most part, jet operator, even without utility, even without armor, feels somewhat safe because you can dash away for the side of Sentinels in T1 here, where your best shot is going to be Shazam on a Sova. It's not really going to work out. You want to buy Util for your Sova, or Skadoodle on a Raze, which again, it's not going to work out. You want to be buying the utility for Skadoodle on the Raze as well. So both teams opting for the full rifles. Everyone's going to have equal equipment here. And it's T1 back on the offense. So let's see what they do about the situation. Early Aldrone over towards short. Might spot one player, does spot Zoms, and that's all the info they get.
Recon Bolt will only see Brax over towards B long. Spike still sitting mid-map. AZK, who was able to take control of Showers early, will now have a duo with him. It's Daze that's going to be playing with him, and it looks like with this position, T1 are eventually going to commit over towards A as they realize that the Sova's playing towards B. Don't know if they got information that Sinatra's also over there. There's the fault line. Recon Bolt behind it. And with the flash also coming through. No, it's 6!
Wow.
He gets a collateral lineup. Still alive with 54 HP. The softball up over the top. Dom's able to find the final 3. But what a play from 6 to double up on the 2 players coming through Shower to give Sentinels the first round in OT.
And that's dominant right there. That is Sentinels putting out a message in this overtime saying, look, first of all, you got to map point. We'll push us to OT. And in that OT, we're going to make it really count right now. The Sentinels get the offense again. And on their offensive side, they technically won that. I mean, look at the round summary here. It's 5 rounds to 7 overall for T1. Defense versus offense on that previous half. And it's that first half of the scam that you're going to have to refer back to, because T1 had such a huge lead, a 7-0 lead, that they give up down to a 5-7. And that could be what ends up costing them this entire map, looking at how close it's been so far.
Three-man stack defensively to B. 2 members for T1 over towards A. Skadoodle will be pushed out of hookah. No boombot for him to try to re-clear this. Does have a paint shell, so it might be a point of contact as Zoms was looking a little frisky initially, but he'll back away. You also still have both Dapper and Sinatra once again playing through A Showers. And both members defensively for T1 are going to give up this position to double stack over towards Lamps, and Sentinels are going to hit this A site.
T1 are still looking for info. They are at least going to have Daze swapping over towards the A side of things. They'll have 3 available here to come down to Brax. Brax is a nice opening kill. Spike on the floor there. Good assist by Spider on the Paranoid as well. That's player advantage. 2 kills now for T1 and Sentinels down to 3.
And Daze on top of the site is going to have a lot of contestants nearby, but Brax here for the help as he finds a second and third kill, but Zoms for the immediate trade. The Sky Smoke will allow him to push through to clear out some space, but in a 1v technical 4 situation, he's got Skadoodle on his flank. He's got Spider inside. There's the first kill. If he can find this side 1v1 versus Skadoodle, it'd be great. He knows that this player is here, and he's going to commit to just going straight on through the teleporter to hookah. There is time for this play. Sky Smoke will be placed to block off the defensive side at spawn, and he's going to have the ultimate after this plant comes through, but the Aftershock's going to deny it for a moment. Down to 6 seconds. Flashpoint also coming through. You have to stick for this. There's Page Shells behind him, though. He's going to get tagged up pretty heavily, down to 35 HP, and AZK will clean things up. Double OT we go.
AZK saves the day for T1 there. If it wasn't for the Aftershock, if the plant comes through for Zoms and he gets an orbital strike, I can see him winning that clutch. There is a real wood. He's still got smokes available. There's some util available there, sure. It's Brimstone. You don't have flashes. The playmaking capability isn't quite there, but with the ultimate and with just enough util left, maybe it's possible. But it is now 13-13, and T1 do respond in kind, so it's not just going to be the Sentinels' OT dominance here, despite them winning the defensive side, having an advantage over the offensive side as well. T1 say no, and T1 get another shot now at the attack, and There's one thing that I think T1 have done well so far this map. It's playing off of Spider's paranoia. There's always someone there to swing as soon as Spider throws in the paranoia, Brax or somebody else swings in, and they will get a kill.
Aldrone pushing through B long for Shazam. I don't believe it sees any information whatsoever. And in moments like this previously, Shazam would say there's nothing here. I'm going to go ahead and push through, but this time he's going to hold a little bit of restraint as Daze now with his Aldrone will try to scout things out. He will see that the Raze is going to be positioned over towards Lamps. And now as the Boombot comes through, that'll also be deleted. A lot of patience being exercised by both of our squads so far.
Sentinels have a crossfire set up over towards Hookah as well, and they would love to have some players walk in their general direction. T1 might still go for this one. T1 not afraid to go for the very late rotations as we've seen. As one Boombot will keep players busy over towards B on the Sentinels side of things. And for T1, it does seem like that there, because they're stacking the spike over towards the shower side, 3 over towards short, they are going to make the play here. However, I do remind everyone, T1 did lose spike and showers on the very similar play previously. This time, however, they get a 5v1.
Yeah, this is a 5v1 situation, and I think a lot of this calls on the fact that Raze had used all of their ultimates, or pretty much all their utility coming through, and it's Daze and AZK find 2 kills. That'll be a free spike plant. Defensively, Sentinels will have an ability to get here pretty quickly.
Spike planted.
But the problem is in a 3v5, and now with the Hunter's Fury being earned, how do you possibly retake this? Daze has already moved his way all the way back over towards spawn to stay safe for a clutch. It's going to have to be very clean here for Sentinels, and as AZK finds an elimination, I don't think clean is on the cards here. Curveball will come through. Sinatra will at least find that trade, but it's going to take a lot more than this. These kills are fine, sure, but it's going to be a 1v3, and there's going to be no opportunity to find a kill on the Daze. And here will be the play coming through. Spider cleaning things up. T1 take the edge to the second OT.
Just too many players alive there for T1. It's a 3v1 at the end of the day as well. Sinatra tried his best over there with his teammate Shazam, and it's just like, oh, Dapper rather, and he even gets a team flash in there, funnily enough, just tries to kill the player on bench. He flashes both himself and Dapper. They do get that kill, but what it really comes down to is the fact that it was a 5v1 to hit the site to begin with. Sentinels unfortunately gambled too hard over towards B, not enough info gathering to see what was actually happening at B, didn't realize it was going to be an A hit, and like you mentioned there as well, Sick used up all of his Raze utility, so even if he was there, I don't know how effective he would have been. I mean, we have seen a couple of really nice collaterals come into play. Let's see if they can do that again. Those Sentinels up quite aggressive over towards B.
And there are a couple of members here. AZK is very far forward. He's by himself. Skadoodle also playing aggressively to Hookah, but he's going to find 1 kill. It'll be a 1-for-1 trade. Blast Pack's going back and forth. Curveball now coming through, but Spider's here for a little bit of help. And the Hookah teleporter play will come out. T1 with a big advantage. 4v2. Dapper's on site. He has to commit. Now moving his way through. You'll see information on the Daze, but he can't confirm the kill as of yet. The spam shots will eventually be there. And as Shazam nearly lines up a double, it's all down to Dapper. 1v1. Neural Theft will come through, but he knows the spike is down, and beyond that, Skadoodle, also aware that information, takes the challenge, but Skadoodle holds passive, gets the dub, and T1 take map 1.
And how thematic is it that Skadoodle ends up being the one to carry them through in the last couple of rounds as well? That early paint shells into Hookah to kill the spike planter, to kill the spike carrier, I should say in this case, confirming full information. That gives full confidence for the rest of T1 to teleport through. Talked about Spider, the paranoia so far, but they pinch on towards the Hookah players. Sinatra's caught out between a rock and a hard place there, and T1 just collapse on all of the Sentinels players, still going over towards B. Still ends up being a 1v1, but Skadoodle clashes on through. Yes, Dapper, he throws in the neural theft over there. He does get to see where Skadoodle is, but it's still a 1v1. You already knew the spike was in Hookah. You already knew it was going to be 1v1, and possibly he's just going to be waiting there for you. It's the execution that has to come into play, and Skadoodle's the one that gets the shot.
There's a lot of things to digest from that first map. We'll take some time to step away. When we come back, we'll try to break things down with Bach in the mix with us, and then we'll try to set things up as Haven will be map number 2. Good news for Sentinels fans. A little bit cloudy when it comes to T1 fans, as we've only seen them play that map a single time, and it was a 13-9 win that they found versus Gen G in their group stage throughout this closed qualifier. We'll step away, though, for now. We'll come back to set things up for you right after this break.